It was one of those evenings when the rain falls softly, not heavy, not loud, just enough to make the city lights shimmer like distant stars. I was walking home through the park, headphones on, when my playlist suddenly stopped. My phone froze, the screen dimmed, and then, for a brief second, I heard something strange. A melody, soft, faint, like it came from another time. It wasn't on my phone. It wasn't anywhere near me, but it was beautiful, hauntingly familiar. I looked around. The park was empty, except for the sound of raindrops on the leaves and the faint hum of streetlights. Still, that melody kept playing, somewhere beyond the trees. Curiosity won over logic. I followed the sound. At the far end of the park stood an old gazebo. I'd passed it 100 times before, paint peeling, vines creeping up its pillars. But that night, it felt alive. Inside, on an old wooden bench, lay something unexpected, a small, dust-covered music box. I picked it up, turned the tiny handle, and the same melody began to play. It was the sound I'd heard through my headphones. But here's the strange part. Carved into the bottom were the words, "For Eliza, play it when the rain begins to fall." My name is Eliza. For a moment, I just stared at it. I'd never seen this box before, never heard this song. Yet something deep inside me stirred, a memory I couldn't quite reach. That night, I took the box home. The next morning, I woke to sunlight streaming through my window and the box sitting quietly on my desk. I opened it again, but it wouldn't play. The mechanism was jammed. When I flipped it over, I noticed something new, a faint engraving beneath my name. It hadn't been there before. It said, "Return to where it began." I didn't understand what that meant, but something in me knew this wasn't just a coincidence. So I started searching. I looked up the history of the park. Turns out, it was built on the site of an old music school that had burned down in 1968. Among the students was a girl named Eliza Morton, a piano prodigy who disappeared the night of the fire. No trace, just gone. And the strangest part? She looked exactly like me. I thought maybe it was a hoax, an internet rabbit hole, until I found an archived photo of her at the city library. Same eyes, same smile. The caption under the photo said, "Eliza and her mentor, Arthur Gray." Something about that name, Arthur Gray. It made my heart race. I dug deeper, found an old newspaper article. Arthur was a composer. He'd written a piece for Eliza called "The Rain's Song." It was never performed. The notes were lost in the fire, but the description of the melody matched the tune from my music box. That night, I dreamed. I was sitting at a piano in a grand hall surrounded by candles. Outside, rain poured against the windows, and in front of me, a man with kind eyes and silver hair, whispering, "Play it again, Eliza." I woke up trembling. The melody still echoed in my head. The next day, I decided to visit the ruins of the old music school. Most of it was gone, just cracked stone walls and overgrown ivy. But in the center stood a rusted piano frame, half buried in the dirt. When I touched it, the music box in my pocket began to hum, faintly, softly, like it was alive. Then something impossible happened. I heard a voice, not from around me, from inside my mind. "Eliza, play it once more." I turned the handle on the box. The melody flowed, clearer than ever, and the ruins began to shimmer. For a brief moment, the world shifted. The walls rebuilt themselves, candles flickered, and I was standing inside a grand concert hall, the same one from my dream. The audience was silent. Arthur Gray stood before me, smiling. "You came back," he said softly. "I don't understand," I whispered. He looked at me, eyes full of sorrow. "You never finished the song. The night of the fire. You tried to save me, but I didn't make it. Your soul was bound to the melody. You've been searching for it ever since my hands began to tremble." "I'm not her," I said. "I'm just me." He smiled faintly. "Souls don't vanish, Eliza. They return when the melody calls." The room began to fade again. "Play it," he whispered, "and set us free." I sat at the phantom piano and began to play. At first the notes felt foreign, but then they flowed, as if my fingers remembered before my mind did. The melody rose, filling the air with light. The walls dissolved into golden mist, and then silence. I woke up on the park bench. The music box sat beside me, its lid open. Inside, instead of the gears, there was now a small silver key engraved with the words, "Thank you." When I held it up to the sunlight, I could hear, faintly, the final notes of the rain's song. And for the first time in my life, I felt peace. Years later, I became a composer. I wrote my own music, soft, haunting, full of rain. And every time I finish a song, I place it in the same old music box. Because sometimes when the rain begins to fall, I can still hear him whisper, "Play it again, Eliza."